Hey builders, welcome back to Jason's Model Shop. Today I'm going to do a full build of the 1/1000 Klingon Bird of Prey, including weathering with oils for the first time. This is going to be a fun one. So we did the Grissom last week, and I decided to carry on and do the Bird of Prey that came with the kit because, like the Grissom, I had done it before, and the kit turned out fairly well. It's pretty good. But then we got a new kitty who didn't quite understand things yet, and I've got 2 broken guns and no weathering. So we're going to replace this, and we're going to step it up, add some weathering, and make it look just like its bigger brother right over here. One thing you want to be aware of is there's a lot of injection marks to deal with. On top of that, you want to be sure to remove any leftover plastic from where it was on the sprue because it will impact fit. The assembly of the Bird of Prey is pretty straightforward. The pieces go together exceptionally well. The engine is an exception, though, because the instructions have you putting it in after the hull's assembled, but you end up breaking one of the installation tabs, so just cut them off before you start. See that injection mark and that injection mark? They're keeping this from sitting correctly. Oh, and see, I forgot something else. That guy's got to come out. Now that we put this guy together, there's still a bunch of work to be done. There's not a lot of seams on it. Most of them are fairly well hidden, but there's a few spots that are going to need work. You got spots where there's some seams, mostly around here. There's some work to be done. So a little bit of putty work, and then we'll prime it up. A little bit of work to do there, and a little bit around there. Not going to go too crazy, and maybe there. But it's so invisible it may not be worth the effort. I'm using dry Addicts, and I'm using this more and more. And what I've done is I've actually added water to it, which has really, really thinned the mix. And the best part is you can actually, when it's still wet, you can remove it with a Q-tip. couple different methods to sanding this down. This stuff sands very, very well. So I tend to use my high grit, the same stuff I use for wet sanding. It takes it off. It's a bit more forgiving when it's taken. You can also use a Q-tip. You want to wet that and get a lot of the water out of it. This is particularly good if you don't want to lose detail. We got all the bits and pieces done on the Bird of Prey. We've done a little bit of filling in the 2 or 3 spots that needed it. A couple you can barely even see. And now it's ready for the next step. So I'm going to go ahead and prime this and give it a base coat. Base coat. Model Master Pale Green. Now I've got 5 bottles of this, and it's the last of my supply, so there's enough to do one more 350 scale Bird of Prey after this. And then I gotta find a new alternative. So I'm gonna do that, fly through that, come back, and we're gonna do the detail painting and the decals. So now we're gonna get detail painting, which is, there's actually a lot on this little model. We got several shades of green, we got some grays, we got some dark silver metallics, we got reds, transparents for the engines. It's very detailed and there's a lot to go into this little model. It's a very lengthy process, so I'm going to get into it. As you can see, it's a multi-step process. It can be a bit tedious. The truth is, it's way easier to do this when you're not recording it, because I don't have to worry about getting my head and hands in the way. But it's a satisfying payoff. All this little detail. There's a few mistakes where the paint has gone over the edges and whatnot, but that's okay, because mistakes aren't always mistakes, because we're going to weather this. There's going to be a lot of black, there's going to be a lot of rust and soot and whatnot. So that will hide certain defects. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do the other wing underside. And then there's the top, there's the grills, and there's the body. There's a lot to do yet. Finished the detail painting on this, painted up the engines, added the torpedo tubes, the emitter, the shield generator, and then we're going to be on to decals. There's only a couple, just for the front and back of the wing hinges and the Klingon registries. So, gonna knock those out. I'm looking in the right spot. Gonna knock those out, and then we're gonna look at some weathering. All right, so I'm plugging away on a little Bird of Prey, and I went ahead and added decals to one side of it. The forward part of the wing hinge. We'll call this registry and pennant, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to go ahead and apply this to the other side, and then we are going to weather it after that, and then we can call it done. I have done weathering before, and looking at the 350 scale Bird of Prey, I had done this, but I'd used weathering powders, and in the past I've also used pigments that are made by Tamiya. With the little Bird of Prey, the attempt is to try something new, and that is weathering with oils. And the process is different but the same, but I think it's maybe actually more freeing in the ability to clean up and start again. Whereas, you use powders on this, and you kind of rub them into the paint, and they get mixed up in the grain, and you'd have to repaint to start again. Whereas with the oils, you can just use the thinner and wipe it all off. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and set up and get that started. I'm mixing oil paint with Taltine. It's an odorless solvent for oil paints, and this is what gives it the flow. As you can see here from the capillary action, the paint just goes through all those little lines and trenches and grooves. But I also apply the oil paint all over the entire model because I want to get a general dingy look to it. I'm wiping off the excess with a paper towel because when I tried a Q-tip, it pulled the paint right out of the etch lines. But I also didn't let it dry enough. I was in a rush, so let it dry thoroughly, and then you can use the solvent to wipe away the excess. For the rust, I didn't really thin it out. I just applied it directly in its thickened state right from the tube, because I wanted to be able to pull it around and really get it to streak and fill those grooves to give it that how do I want to say? To really make it look like it had been there for a while. You get those rust streaks and oil streaks. I used the soft bristle brush here to pull the paint around and really blend things together. Turned out pretty well, but I have a ways to go in learning how to really perfect this technique. Excuse the mess over my shoulder. I'm doing some changes to the office/studio back here. So I'm all done the Bird of Prey. This was a bit more challenging than I expected. I thought this was going to be like a one-day build. It's not. The basic construction is relatively easy, only a few spots. That engine is a huge pain. It is probably the worst thing on the model. It's a fun build, especially if you like detail painting. I like hand painting. I find it very, very relaxing. Trying something new, whether with oils. That was also interesting. There's challenges. It's not just like a build it and you're done. There's a lot of little challenges in it, and it can be very rewarding. I'm going to put some photos up on Instagram, much more detailed close-up photos, so be sure to check it out there. And if you like this video, check out some other ones. Until I see you next time, keep on building.